The Gypsy Rose Blanchard story is a tale of mystery, horror, neglect and manipulation, the betrayal of a mother's love and the brutal repercussions. She was born in 1991 to young parents. Rod Blanchard met Dee Dee when he was only 17 and she was 24. The couple quickly married when she fell pregnant with Gypsy. According to the documentary Gypsy's Revenge, he married out of responsibility and not out of love, and the marriage only lasted 3 months. This is when the early seeds of manipulation and control were sown. Rod was continuously fed stories about how his daughter's health was deteriorating. He claims this was done since the day she was born. She told him Gypsy had seizures, ear problems, eye problems, acid reflux, chromosome disorders and sleep apnea. She also said that the seizures were affecting her mental development. Dee Dee told him that their daughter would not live very long because of her illnesses. From an early age, Gypsy had many operations, including having a feeding tube put in her stomach. Dee Dee would wrap the child in cotton wool and would not let her family babysit or hold her. Slowly, she blocked Rod from seeing her, despite taking every penny of child support and medical funds. Meanwhile, she poisoned Gypsy's mind, telling her he had abandoned them and that he didn't love them. Around the age of 7, Gypsy was now in a wheelchair. Rod was told she had muscular dystrophy. Dee Dee moved further and further away from Rod and her family, meaning it was harder for people to visit and easier for Dee Dee to isolate Gypsy. Eventually, Dee Dee cut off all visits and only allowed phone calls from Rod. Years later, Rod phoned to wish his daughter a happy 18th birthday. Dee Dee told him not to tell her she was 18 because she didn't know. When he asked her why, she told him Gypsy had a child's mind and so she didn't tell her she was older. The mother and daughter moved to Springfield, Missouri in 2005 after their home was destroyed in Hurricane Katrina. Habitat for Humanity built the house from scratch for them and painted it pink especially for them. As stated by neighbour Kim Blanchard, the local community were led to believe that Gypsy was suffering terribly from numerous illnesses. She apparently suffered from muscular dystrophy, migraines, was fed by a feeding tube, had a 4-year-old child's learning age and was wheelchair bound. The local community welcomed the duo with open arms and were sympathetic to their plight. Neighbours even came out to welcome them when they arrived, as did the media. Dee Dee had a bright and friendly persona and was described as treating everyone like her family. But little did they know that in reality this was the last thing they wanted to be. She treated her daughter Gypsy horrifically. Behind closed doors, Gypsy was being physically and mentally imprisoned. She was being used as a gravy train for money and attention. Dee Dee managed to manipulate the media and charities, just like she had scammed everyone else around her. She used her daughter's illnesses to get free trips and free flights all across America, as well as a free wheelchair accessible van. Gypsy was particularly fond of Disney, and so they often got the chance to visit Disneyland or Disney conventions. She liked to use her imagination and dress up as her favourite characters at comic and movie conventions. Gypsy was notably a bright and cheerful young girl, despite her many illnesses. She was often smiling brightly in optimism when others would have crumbled into depression. She even befriended her neighbour Aaliyah Woodmansee. They began talking on Facebook Messenger. She would ask for advice and they called each other sisters. But such was the control of her mother, Gypsy had to do this in secret. However, it was Dee Dee and Gypsy's joint Facebook account that would finally expose the lie in brutal fashion. Out of nowhere, a status read, "That bitch is dead." The next post read, "I fucking slashed that pig and raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud, LOL." People were extremely concerned and the police were called to do a wellness check. A neighbour climbed through the window to check on them and he noted that Gypsy's wheelchairs were still there. As he did not see anyone in the house, the police believed Gypsy may have been kidnapped. However, he had missed something. Under the ruffled blankets and duvets of her mother's bed lay Dee Dee's dead body. The police found that there were multiple stab wounds on the murdered body. The community was grief-stricken for her. They saw her as angelic in the way she had dedicated her life to caring for her sick child. But they would be left even more distraught by the revelations to come. Aaliyah gave a statement to police that Gypsy told her she was in a relationship with a boy named Nicholas Godejohn. As you would expect, this was a secret because she was not allowed to date. The IP address of the Facebook post that sparked the police investigation was traced back to a property in Wisconsin. This property was the home of Nicholas Godejohn and his parents. This is where they found Gypsy and Nicholas. It was speculated that he had kidnapped her after killing her mother, but the truth was even stranger. Bizarrely, instead of hiding the murder weapon, it was found in the house after they mailed it from Dee Dee's house to Nicholas Godejohn's. Nicholas admitted to killing his girlfriend's mother out of love. However, he dropped the bombshell to police that she asked him to do it.
Honestly, she asked me to. Okay.
In a press conference, the police stated that they were both charged with first-degree murder. It was also revealed to the shocked public that Gypsy could in fact walk.
Gypsy can walk without assistance or a wheelchair, and she can do that very well.
She did not even need a wheelchair. This raised even more questions about the case. It was also later revealed that Nicholas had a very strange and depraved charge on his police record. He had previously been arrested for watching adult movies and touching himself for 9 hours in a McDonald's restaurant. Speculation was that he was a predator and had manipulated her. However, it was soon evident that she was the mastermind and had used the autistic Nicholas to free her from a life of confinement. The lies of Dee Dee were soon exposed as well. She was not a saint-like protector, but she was in fact a monster. Her father later said that she got what she deserved. None of her family members even wanted her ashes, and her father said they should flush it down the toilet. Gypsy was told from a young age that she was ill, that she had epilepsy, asthma, hearing, learning and ear impairment, was paralysed and had cancer, among a litany of other supposed illnesses. Dee Dee shaved her head bald, gave her copious amounts of medications, and installed a feeding tube. She was also forced to use a breathing machine when she slept. She was somehow able to convince doctors to give Gypsy operations she didn't need, including having her salivary glands removed, ear and eye surgeries, muscle biopsies, and more. The lack of saliva and the medication she was on also meant her teeth began to dissolve. So she had most of her teeth removed as well. Gypsy stated in Gypsy's Revenge that she believed that she had cancer up until her lawyer showed her evidence that she did not. Her mother had manipulated and brainwashed her so much that she believed she was sick and dying. It was revealed to her that she was perfectly healthy. She was given a lifetime of pain and suffering by the woman everyone thought was her guardian angel. Her own mother subjected her to crippling medications, painful procedures, and confinement to a wheelchair. But more than this, she stole her childhood from her, isolated her from her family, and prevented her from experiencing life. No school, no friendships, nothing. She even took away her ability to enjoy the taste and sensation of food and drink by fitting the feeding tube. As it turns out, Dee Dee was suffering from munchausen by proxy, meaning they make up that someone close to them is ill so that they can reap the attention. She thrived on her image as a caring mother. She was also diagnosed with malingering by proxy, in that there was also a financial goal. As you would expect, the community was outraged. People had donated thousands of dollars to the little girl. Rod even stated he had spent around $150,000 on fake medical expenses and child support that she continued to claim after Gypsy had turned 18. Dee Dee had a criminal history of minor fraud and theft. She even stole from her own family, racking up credit card debt in their names. Unsurprisingly, as is common with Munchausen by proxy, she had some medical knowledge. She had studied briefly to become a nurse and worked in a hospital. Her own father and stepmother even stated that she had previously tried to poison her stepmother. They speculated that she was feeding her weed killer in her food. Her stepmother Laura was bedbound for 9 months and barely survived. It has been speculated that the failures of Gypsy's case can be partly explained by the private medical system in America. Doctors seemed all too eager to perform the surgeries as it meant more money in their pockets. Gypsy was told not to talk to doctors and was briefed on what to say if she had to. Dee Dee would also switch doctors if they did not give her the medications or treatments that she wanted her to have. Conveniently, Dee Dee also told doctors Gypsy's medical records had been lost in Hurricane Katrina, and that she had all the necessary information. Dr. Bernardo Flasterstein suspected Munchausen by proxy because Gypsy had normal muscle tone and reactions. This meant the diagnosis of muscular dystrophy and paralysis were impossible. He even told her mother that Gypsy should be able to walk as the MRI results came back as normal. However, he failed to make a report to Child Protective Services after she switched to to a new doctor. An anonymous report was, however, sent to the police, but they were unable to find any evidence of neglect or mistreatment. Dee Dee also charmed the police officers and no further action was taken. As mentioned by sisters Claudia and Dola, Dee Dee was a victim of this by her own mother as well. To a lesser extent, she was told she was ill and was overprotected by her mother. Her mother also had a history of theft and fraud. She was spoiled by her mother whilst her other siblings went without. This undoubtedly factored into her later actions. It has also been claimed that when her mother was ill and dying, that Dee Dee did not feed her, and question marks surround her death as well. It was also unclear just how much Gypsy knew of the lies her mother told her. Surely she must have known she could walk. She later stated that she realised she was years older than her mother told her after seeing a document. She was born in 1991, but Dee Dee changed it to 1995 when forging documents. Gypsy actually tried to escape in 2011 after meeting someone at a sci-fi convention. She asked for his help to escape and he helped her. But someone phoned her mum and she came to get her. She told the man that her daughter was only 15. Unsurprisingly, at 36 he freaked out and allowed her mum to take her. In reality, Gypsy was 19 years old. Gypsy alleges that her mother took her home, smashed her computer with a hammer, tinted the windows in the house, tied her to her bed, and put bells on all of the doors so she knew if a door was opening. She further alleges that she was starved, beaten with a coat hanger, and verbally assaulted. This lasted for around 2 weeks. The reason she never tried to escape on her own or go to the police is that Dee Dee had Gypsy declared incompetent by a lawyer. It was soon after this, in 2012, that she began talking to Nicholas on a Christian dating website. She had to sneak onto her mother's computer at night to do this. Seemingly, they were both starved for attention and quickly became a couple. Nicholas alleged that he had multiple personalities, including a violent side named Victor.
I know, but it's the thing is that I have
You just got angry.
more than one person inside me. There's actually multiple personalities of myself.
Have you been diagnosed with that?
I probably should be diagnosed with it because it happens. The thing is, I used to take medication because I
Okay.
used to hear voices in my head,
Okay.
and it went away. Then it somehow went as part of myself.
Okay.
They both accepted each other's flaws and the immaturity of first love. She would use her flair for imagination and dress up to pose for seductive pictures in various outfits to send him. She even stole a mobile phone so she could talk in private. They played out weird fantasy games with each other. He would play the master and she would be the submissive girlfriend. She would also make up female personalities to match his multiple personalities. Aware of the controlling situation Gypsy was in, they arranged to meet for the first time in 2015. But as Dee Dee would be there, they would pretend they didn't know each other and randomly on purpose meet that day and charm Dee Dee into accepting their friendship. They arranged to meet at a showing of Cinderella. But Dee Dee did not take to Nicholas. She believed he was creepy and dangerous looking, especially since he had gone to see a children's movie alone. and, rather unceremoniously, but as they both had previously arranged, he took her virginity in the toilets of the cinema. Dee Dee was enraged when she saw her still hanging around with Nicholas, and she slapped her across the face. Gypsy said this is when she realised she would never be free. Nicholas and Gypsy then began a plot to free her. They came to the conclusion this would mean Dee Dee would have to die. Seemingly it was Gypsy that first brought up the idea, and she also asked him to do it. She said it was the only way they could be together.
Yes.
Why did she ask you to do that?
Because she felt it was her only way to be with me.
Nicholas also knew that she could walk and believed she was being imprisoned. He believed he was saving his girlfriend. So, when Gypsy paid for a bus ticket for him to come and save her in June 2015, he jumped at the chance. That night, Gypsy and her mother painted each other's nails in a moment of bonding between the pair. Little did Dee Dee know, this would be the last time she saw her daughter. Nicholas arrived at the house and Gypsy gave him a knife, rubber gloves and duct tape. Then, as she hid in the bathroom, Nicholas used the knife to end Dee Dee's life. Immediately after, they had sex in Gypsy's bed. They stole cash and fled to Wisconsin after a night in a motel and after mailing the knife. They also slept together again that night in the motel room. Gypsy later admitted she made the Facebook post, but said that she did it to alert the police to the crime scene rather than out of spite. In 2016, Gypsy Rose Blanchard was sentenced to 10 years for second-degree murder in a plea deal. In 2019, Nicholas Godejohn was given a life sentence for first-degree murder.
How do you plead to the Class A felony of murder in the second degree?
Guilty.
The court finds that there is a factual basis for a plea of guilty. Court accepts defendant's plea of guilty and finds defendant guilty thereof beyond a reasonable doubt. She's to be sentenced to 10 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections. She'll have to do 85% of her sentence before she's eligible for parole. Let's go off the record.
As to count one, we, the jury, find the defendant, Nicholas Godejohn, guilty of murder in the first degree, as submitted in instruction number 6. We assess and declare the punishment for murder in the first degree at imprisonment for life without the possibility of probation or parole.